Hi everyone, it's Angela from Cakeangel, and today I'm going to show you how to colour fondant. So here we have a batch of homemade marshmallow fondant that I recently made, and I always keep my fondant wrapped in plastic wrap as that stops it from drying out and having all those crusty pieces on the end. So the plastic wrap will keep it nice and soft, and then when you unwrap it you just need to warm it through again with the heat from your hands, or you can even pop it in the microwave for a couple of seconds just to heat it up again so it's nice and pliable. First thing I'm going to do though is split it up and start rolling it to warm it up and make it nice and pliable. I find that really helps when you're colouring. It just helps that colour to absorb a little bit better too when the fondant's been warmed up. So I'm using a liquid colour. This is a sky blue. And I like to split my fondant up into several pieces when I'm colouring, and I tend to colour one of those pieces, and then it's easier to add that to the rest of the fondant, and you actually get a nice muted tone that way as well. So I've just dusted my hands slightly with some cornstarch in a little puff that I've made. And now I'm going to start the slightly messy process of kneading the colour into the fondant. Now if you're worried about getting this on your hands, you can wear gloves for this stage, but this does wash off pretty well, so I'm not too worried about it. My hands will look quite blue throughout this process, but again, it does come off. I'm also doing this on a work board rather than my counter, just in case of any stains, but this is a water-based product, so it does wash off nice and easily. So as you can see, I'm just doing lots of kneading and stretching just to get that colour nice and evenly through my first little piece of fondant. It's a nice even colour now. Next thing I'm going to do is take my second piece of fondant. Again, you can see how blue my hands are. And we're going to repeat the whole process again. So kneading and stretching and keep going until you've got a fully even colour. If you find that your hands or your board is getting a little sticky with the fondant, just redust it again. Again, I'm using cornstarch, not icing sugar. I don't want to add any more icing sugar to my fondant at this stage. So I find the cornstarch just stops it from sticking and helps to dry it out just a little bit. Enough that it's still nice and soft and workable. And again, stops it sticking to my hands. You can see already how that colour is a slightly lighter shade of blue now, because obviously we've added more white fondant to it. Okay, so now I'm going to add that final piece. I have washed my hands just to get the majority of the colour off, and I just use warm water for that. And now I'm going to add in that final piece of white fondant. And same process again, we're going to knead and stretch until all that colour is evenly distributed throughout the fondant. A little bit more powder on our workboard, just to stop it from sticking. And here we go again with the kneading and stretching. It is a bit of a workout when you're adding colour to this amount of fondant. Normally I wouldn't be colouring up a whole batch in one go, but this was for a particular cake that I wanted for a light blue colour, so I am just colouring up the whole batch this time. So we're just adding in that last bit of fondant and a little bit more dust and more kneading and rolling. And this has made a really nice sky blue colour. Now of course, if you felt that the colour was a little bit too light for you, you can just add in more colour as you go until you get the right shade. I'm just getting a bit more of a stretch as I'm going to be using this to cover a cake, so I do want it to be really pliable. And if you weren't going to use it straight away, you would just wrap it back up in your plastic wrap and leave it on the counter. It's fondant, it doesn't really need to go in the fridge. There's nothing in it that's going to go bad quickly because it's made of marshmallow and icing sugar. So again, you could just wrap it and put it in a sealed container and leave it on your counter until you're ready to use it. This will last about 6 months as well. You may find that the colours will fade eventually over time, but then you can just add a little bit more to it if you wanted to change the shade of colour. And there we go, we've got a really nice blue colour. Nice and easy technique. It does take a little bit of elbow grease to get that colour needed in, but hopefully through showing you how I like to split up the fondant into smaller batches, it'll make it a little bit easier for you. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like my video and also subscribe to my channel.